aware of manipulation, and the movie's about manipulation, and you can't be aware of the movie's manipulation as a separate lane to the story's manipulation, as a separate lane to the, you know, to Nicholas Van Orton's manipulation. You know, there's the manipulation of Nicholas Van Orton, there's the manipulation of the story, there's the manipulation of the filmmaking that helps tell the story, and then there's the stuff that's distracting. Eliminate the distracting and, you know, and get to the essential. What do you essentially have to tell?
Let me guess. I go first.
Steve Golan gave me a script, the Ferris and Brancato script that was that MGM had bought years ago. He had bought it from MGM, and he said, "I got the script I want you to read. It's called The Game." And I was kind of like, "Oh God, it's going to be like the most dangerous game. It's going to be a retelling of that." But I like the script, and I love the twists and turns, and I love the drugging scene. I love the scene where Deborah, or where Christine drugs him. I thought, wow, that's really genius, because you're so worked up by that point to like, and you hate it, you know, you hate the moment. You just go, oh God, why didn't I fucking see that? And I love the shootout at the house with the, you know, I thought that whole thing, the whole middle section, you know, it's very rare that you find a movie in the middle section of it works. You know, I just didn't quite buy the setup or the ending with it being, you know, shooting your actually I think he shoots Christine. And I told Scolan, what if we have a guy who's Scrooge, who's just dead, who doesn't have anybody in his life, and back into his life comes somebody who should mean something to him, but he's holding off at a distance, and that person gives him this experience, and then the thing plays out against him or to him.
I think visually, Fincher really got the rhythms of The Rich down right. I mean, it feels very sumptuous. It feels very cold and isolated and very rich. In our initial draft, he was a much nicer guy. We were sort of responding to, you know, perceived Hollywood wisdom. You sort of figure you want to have a sympathetic main character in your movie. And I think Fincher's decision to move it much more in a Scrooge direction, make this a Christmas Carol type story, was a smart one. It was a gutsy one, and I don't think, you know, every director could have gotten away with it or could have, you know, been given the freedom to do it that way.
Table for two, please.
I'm looking for anything that's going to help me tell my story. You know, people go, oh, well, you know, are you all caught up in the costuming and the photography and all that? It's like, I'm caught up in the miking. You know, I'm caught up in the clothes they wear, the shoes they wear, the contrast between the shoes that they wear and the clothes that they wear. All of those things help to tell you who these people are. You know, so all those things, it's not flashy. The pinky ring, you know, Michael Kaplan, the costume designer, was insisting on this pinky ring. He was like, pinky rings, it's got to be pinky rings. Guys, you know, who, this is old money. This is, you know, Harvard, Stanford, Yale kind of, you know, those guys wear pinky rings. And he was right. It's a great little touch, and it's a great little thing that Michael gets to play with, and it's this little kind of flash on his hand that you see. And it's like, it's not a mafiosa type thing. It doesn't come across that way. It comes across as this kind of, you know, boys club kind of thing. When he's in the gentleman's club with all the hardwood and the leather and the cigars, and, you know, it's this kind of tobacco kind of place, you know, the pinky ring fits in perfect there, you know, with the Shivas.
No, I'm an investment banker. I move money from one place to another.
I hate the red bra scene. We shot that scene 3 times, trying to figure out. Initially, it's a much longer scene, and there's a lot, and you found out a lot more about her in it. But it didn't play very well. It seemed like a setup. You know, there was a scene where she talked about the beautiful view out his windows, and he says, I never look out them, and she says, you ought to, and she talks about, you know, if I had an office like this, I'd, you know, there's all these kinds of layers of stuff, but it seemed like a big wind-up. It seemed like it drew way too much attention to her, and you sort of went, she's setting him up for something. And it wasn't what they were saying, it's that they were stopping to talk about, that they were stopping to smell the roses at all at that moment, made you made the audience go on alert. And it just ultimately felt inappropriate. I mean, that's the way I felt then. I might feel differently now. I don't know. If I had to watch a movie, I might go, you know what this movie really needs is a few more moments where they stop and smell the roses. But I at the time just felt I wanted to just be very clean and get on with the lies, you know?
Screenwriters John Brancato and Michael Ferris. Michael Ferris.
Early in at some point in the development process, they were asking us questions like, well, what's the movie about? What's the theme? Which, of course, you hate hearing in a development meeting. So our initial response was, well, life's a joke. And we were quickly told, you can't say that. That's not you can't. That's not what a movie's about. You go, okay, no, that's not life's a joke. We were kidding about that. But
It's why is the tragedy of life a comedy?
because it has a happy ending.
Director David Fincher.
This film, for me, was an interesting study, not in human behavior and how people relate to each other or what people want from life or a career or any of that. It was, what does an audience want or expect or need from a film?
Everything's in order. The concierge has arranged for the wine and flowers in the room.
Has he?
And a young woman phoned to say she's en route but running a little late.
Did the young woman leave her name?
I'm sure I don't know.
Of course you don't. Thank you.